Alright guys, let's talk about uncertainty when it comes to nutrition and macros and what to do about it. Because this happens a lot with clients and readers, and you know what, I have to say it's really great when you guys ask me questions, because a lot of times I feel like some of my best content, tweets, Facebook statuses, video logs like I'm doing right now, and blog posts, articles that I write, some of my best ideas come from you guys. When you guys ask me questions and you say, you know, especially when I notice that I have numerous clients and numerous readers asking me the same questions over and over. It really, you know, I say, okay, maybe this will make a really great video log or a really great article. So, you know, some of my best articles, including, let me think, you know, The Case for Slow Fat Loss, which I wrote last year. Another one of my favorites that I wrote when one of my readers asked was How to Stop at One Cookie. How to Estimate Macros When Eating Out. That's a video log. This is what flexible dieting actually looks like. Those are just some of the pieces that I've created that I can think of off the top of my head that have come from you guys. So thank you for that. They were all really well received, and I encourage you guys to please keep asking questions. You're not annoying me. I love getting these questions, and it really makes me think, and it challenges me to be a better educator and really stay on top of my own learning material. So it's great. But today I want to talk about eating out. What you do when you know, readers and clients, they say, so you know, I love counting macros. I've been counting macros for 8 months, or I've been counting macros for a year, 2 years, 3 years. I used it to successfully prep for my show or my photo shoot, or, you know, I've lost this many pounds of fat and this many inches off my waist just from, you know, flexible dieting and macro counting, which is excellent. And they say, Sohee, I feel great when I'm at home, I'm eating my meals at home, or I get to cook my own food. I feel very confident and secure with my diet when I can use a food scale for everything that I'm eating, and when I can weigh everything out. I know the specifics of everything. But when I eat out, when I go out to eat at a restaurant, or if I go to a friend's house or a family's house, and I don't know the exact contents of a meal, I don't know exactly how much of every ingredient that went into this dish, I feel a lot of anxiety, and I really feel uncomfortable with this uncertainty. So what do you do? How do I do that? And how do I handle that? And you know, sometimes as a perfectionist, if you really like working with specific numbers and like knowing all the answers, like myself, and this is something that I had to work through as well, you are very uncomfortable with uncertainty. You don't like thinking that, you know, you don't have all the answers, and something like, well, you know, I have a whole video you guys can find on how to estimate macros when eating out, and the gist of the whole video is make your best estimations, overestimate your portion sizes, make sure you practice beforehand. So you know, when you do weigh your food, pay attention to what does 3 ounces of chicken look like, what does 5 ounces of chicken look like, what does 40 grams of oats look like dry. That way, when you don't have a food scale, you can still make reasonably good enough estimations and leave it there. But most importantly, don't and this is the hardest one to master, is when you go out and you're estimating and you're just working with a lot of unknown variables. Make your best guesstimate and let that be good enough, and do not stress about it. Do not sit there thinking, oh my god, is this 45 grams, is it 50 grams? I don't know which one it is. It's not going to make or break you. It's not going to be the end of the world. I think obviously you're not going to get everything down to the gram, and that's perfectly okay. But you know, last week I put together a full video log of what I eat, everything that I eat in a day, and I took out my camera for all the meals that I was eating, and I showed you guys how I did that. And you know, my last meal of the day was we went out for dinner to you know, we went down to downtown Savannah, and I ordered a salmon dish. If you guys remember, it was a salmon dish that was probably had some oil in it, probably fried to some extent, and it also had, it was on a bed of some kind of forget what it's called, some green creamy sauce, which was really good. And then it had some corn on top of it, and it came with a fried, like a mashed potato cake of sorts. And I remember one of my readers commented, she goes, I noticed, on your My Macros Plus account, which is where I log all my food, you can find me at SoHeFit, on your My Macros Plus for meal 4, which is what that was, you logged 4 ounces of salmon and some oil, but you did not account, you didn't even plug in the corn, which I did end up eating because I freaking love, why is it so yummy? I love corn. Anyway, she goes, I noticed that you didn't log the corn. Why not? And I said to her, and this was in an Instagram reply, so most of you probably missed it, but I just said to her, you know what? Oh shit, I think it's about to rain. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up really quick. I said, I don't log every single ingredient of everything that I eat, because at some point, sorry guys, at some point, you're just kind of splitting hairs. And for something like corn, I think it was just so little of the corn, and the macros were negligible enough to the point where I could just kind of not account for it and plug in the big ingredients like the oil and the salmon and the meats that I was eating and the bread that I had in the appetizer, and leave it at that and just say, listen, that's probably around where my calories were for the whole meal. I think it was, I don't know, let's just say it was 600. And I said, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna sit here thinking, how many grams of corn was this? How many, it's not worth it. So I account for the big things. It may have been 5 ounces of salmon. It may have been 6 ounces of salmon, but I just put in 4 because it looked like 4 to me. Maybe it was 3, I don't know. And I plug it in, and you know what I did? I sat back and I enjoyed my meal, and I moved on with my life. I didn't think about, I wasn't thinking here, I wasn't sitting here obsessing over, oh, I don't know if that was the right estimate for the food that I ate tonight, and oh my God, my progress is ruined. No, your progress is not ruined. I woke up the next morning and I took my progress pictures and I took measurements and I sent them into my coach, and I went on with my merry life, and it was fine. But I think I'll just sit down again. I know a lot of you guys say, I went out to eat. I didn't know the what was in my food. I didn't know what this ingredient was. I didn't know what that ingredient was. So I just ended up binge eating because I got nervous. And that's actually super, super common, especially for those of you who who are perfectionists and like to know, specific numbers for everything. It's definitely raining now. And I think when that happens, a lot of you feel the urge to, when you start to feel uncomfortable, or when you feel uncertain about something, a lot of you feel the urge to, you have to do something, right? Like you feel uncomfortable, so you binge, because that's an actionable step that you can take. That's a concrete thing. Even though it's not going to be good for you in the long run, even though it is a form of, self-sabotaging behavior, you binge because you don't know what else to do. And it's something that you're familiar with. I'm back in the kitchen. It's something that you're familiar with. It's maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's something that you've been doing for a long time. It provides a temporary form of comfort for you, and it's familiar. So you binge. You inhale all the things that in your mind you consider to be bad. You eat all the sugar. You eat all the grease. Sugary cereal, cookies, ice cream. Those tend to be the go-to binge foods of choice for a lot of people. Maybe for you it's savory, like chips and whatnot, but the point is two things here. Two things. One, a lot of times when people binge, it usually is because a lot of things, but partly when you binge, you believe it happens in large part because for some of you believe that you have no control over the binge episode. Like if you feel a binge coming on, you feel like you can't do anything about it. You're helpless. You just kind of are going through the motions, and the binge is happening to you, as opposed to I'm in full control of my actions. I can, I get to say whether or not this food actually goes into my mouth, and I am in charge here. The food's not in charge, I'm in charge. And, really quick story that I mentioned in recent Physics Science podcast episode that I'll reiterate here was, when I have family back in LA, and I went to boarding school in high school near Santa Barbara, and every time I had break, spring break, winter break, I would go back to the house in Cerritos, and for whatever reason in my mind, I always associated that specific location, so that Cerritos kitchen, with binge eating in my mind. So for the longest time, every time I go back there, it happened at night, a specific location was, by the kitchen counter. Every time I was standing there, I fully believed that, oh shit, this binge is coming on, it's gonna happen. And here I am opening the kitchen cupboards, here I am reaching into the pantry to grab the peanut butter and jelly Smucker's jar, which, we always had around. And here I am grabbing a spoon, and here I am scooping this giant, spoonfuls into my mouth. And here I am, I don't have control over any of this. And that actually went on for a long time until I realized one day that this belief that I had that the binge eating was happening to me at this specific time in this specific location, and there was nothing I could do about it, was something that I had fabricated in my own mind. And if I started to question that, and I say, okay, this is what I believe, but is it true? Is it really true that I am helpless to this behavior? And obviously it's not true. And so as soon as I started realizing that I had control and I had the power, and I started taking responsibility over my actions, that's really when things started changing for me in my mind. Obviously it didn't happen overnight. It took several months after that still, but just realizing that just because you eat out does not mean that you have to necessarily binge. It's not, if I go out to eat, then I will binge. If I'm not using my food scale, then I will binge. So I really encourage you guys to question your thoughts that you have running through your mind, not just with binge eating, but with the language that you use with yourself. If you wake up in the morning, you step on the scale, and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm fat, I am worthless, I'm lazy. Guess what? You believe your thoughts. And if you think you're gonna binge, you probably 99% chance you're going to binge. If you believe that you're gonna have a shitty workout, you're probably gonna have a shitty workout. So as frou-frou and as crunchy as it sounds, it's true. If you change the language that you use with yourself and you change the thoughts in your head, then that is so instrumental in changing your behavior for better or for worse. So the power of the mind is so underestimated. So that's one. Second thing, what do you do when you eat out? You can't know the exact macros of a meal and you're feeling uneasy. Here's what I do, and I've gotten really good at this. So, I ordered the salmon, and I thought it was gonna be like seared salmon with I don't know, steamed broccoli on the side, but the steamed broccoli is dripping in some kind of butter or oil, and it's I pick it up and it's like it's a soup, and I can get upset. One, I can get upset over it, or two, I can say, okay, veggies are veggies. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna make the best of this meal. I'm gonna eat what I can. I'm gonna estimate what I can. That looks like a bit of oil, so maybe I'll put in 1 tablespoon of olive oil into my macros or something. And by the way, this is only if you're actually counting macros. I'm a big advocate of macro counting, but as I always say, there's a time and a place for counting macros. So if you're not counting macros, then you can disregard this part. But maybe the salmon is fried or whatever, and I'm just doing my best to count macros, and I'm thinking, I don't know the exact nutrition information for this, and I'm starting to feel uncomfortable, so here's what I do. Ready? That's what I do. So essentially, I sit here, I feel uncomfortable, I acknowledge the fact that I'm feeling uncomfortable, and I don't do anything. Sit with the feeling of discomfort. You can let yourself feel something, some sensation or some emotion, and not have to act on it. You don't have to do anything. I know the knee-jerk reaction may be, oh my God, I have to get out of here. I have to leave the restaurant. I have to go home. I have to binge, whatever. Acknowledge that feeling. Hey, I'm feeling highly uncomfortable right now, or I can sense some anxiety seeping in right now. My chest is tightening. My heart rate is increasing a little bit. Maybe my shoulders are coming up to my ears right now because this is a really uncomfortable situation for me. But if I can sit here and maybe if I have company with me, I'll do my best to try to focus my attention on the conversation, on the people that I'm with. And I'm gonna continue to feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. I'm gonna let myself feel that way, and eventually it'll pass. And guess what? I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna die if I don't know the exact macros of this meal. It's not the end of the world if I have fleeting thoughts of binging, because that's what I'm used to doing in the past, but I don't actually submit to those urges. It's okay. So again, sit with the sensation of discomfort. Allow yourself to feel uncomfortable. Be aware of it. Acknowledge it. And allow yourself to feel it. It's the harder thing to do. And it's definitely going to take practice. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. But I encourage you, the next time you find yourself in a situation where there are unknowns with your food, I challenge you to allow yourself to feel it and let that be okay. And you'll come home that night, you'll brush your teeth, you'll get ready for bed, you're gonna go to sleep, and then you're gonna wake up the next morning and you're gonna say, well, I'm alive. Nothing happened to me. I didn't spontaneously combust overnight because I allowed myself to feel uncomfortable. Everything is fine. And if you do that enough times, that's going to give you a lot of confidence. And over time, the sensation, the feeling of discomfort will subside when you realize that good enough for the most part really is good enough. And you can still make plenty of progress with fat loss progress or whatever without having to know everything down to the gram. I think if you are on point the majority of the time, then you can get far. You can get to a lot of places. So that's what you do. That's what you do when you work with unknowns with nutrition. And last thing I'll say is portion control is always your friend. If you can't control what you eat, let's say, you normally like to have a lot of protein in your meals, obviously, but if there's ever a time when all you can have is carbs and fat and like pasta, right? And there's like one little measly piece of bacon in there. Oh well. Have a moderate portion, enjoy the hell out of that meal, and move on. And okay, just make a mental note. Hey, this meal was high in butter, high in fat, high in carbs, and you don't have to eat the whole plate. I had just enough to satisfy me, and this meal was delicious. I enjoyed it very much. I don't feel guilty, but making a mental note. Next meal has to be a little healthier. Balance it out, checks and balances, right? So next meal is going to be a little bit higher in protein. Maybe I'll have a chicken salad for my next meal to balance it out. No guilt, no stress. That's the end of it.